in, please make sure you sign in on the way out. And secondly, this event is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the YouTube channel. And with that, I'll turn the microphone over.
All right. Well, thank you, Professor Alonso. And thanks to the HSS and the HSS office and Jennifer and Phil for all the support. I know we'll have some other people coming in as they navigate across the construction. Those trees will come up. The trees that are gone, they will come up today. Not literally. We're not doing that. Figuratively. Yeah. I'm Professor Menser. This is my environmental ethics class that's going to be presenting today. I'm going to turn it over to them in just a minute. I just want to say real quick that what we really were able to do with this presentation, I had these three wonderful students, Karina, who was from my Urban Sustainability Capstone class that actually did the scope for the tree inventory to set up that. And then Adrian and Radia from my current environmental ethics class with some of their fellow students here decided and dedicated themselves to doing a presentation to look at the tree inventory, this work that we did on our beautiful campus, which is under construction, and that's the way it goes. This is good. Construction is good. But to look at this work and this natural feature, so to speak, of the campus from 4 different moral and political perspectives, because we value these things in different ways from different perspectives. So they're going to go into 4 of the perspectives. I'll just quickly say there's participatory democracy, there's virtue ethics, there's bioregionalism, and there's environmental ethics. And there's also, in the rights-based view. So 5 the total. And they're going to, Karina will explain the tree inventory and what was involved with that and the work the class did last year and work that she did also as an independent study student. And then Adrian and Radia will look at the tree inventory in the campus and the green infrastructure campus and the issue of sustainability campus from the various moral and political perspectives. And then we'll have plenty of time for some conversation. So thanks to all of you for coming. I'll hand it over to Karina.
Thank you. So first I'm going to explain what a tree inventory is. Tree inventory is basically a census of trees in an area. And what the census records are things like species, size and age, health condition, location, and also any maintenance needs based on that health condition. Cities use this data to determine which trees to plant and remove, how to maintain their forests, plan developments. And so I was in the capstone class, and so I'm going to later go over what we did for that scope. The reason why we have a tree inventory is because, well, first of all, trees have many benefits. They're aesthetically pleasing, they're calming, some might say. They improve the urban heat island effect through their canopy. There's stormwater retention, a great deal of stormwater retention involved. Benefits to air quality and also CO2 capture. And of course, they're also habitats for species, right? And so you would want an inventory for trees because it would help you understand those ecological components. Also, it's a great way to achieve some research, and which is great because we're in a college, right? And also you can advocate for those trees. One thing I did for my independent study was on environmental democracy relating to these trees. And so environmental democracy is related to decision-making on environmental things that reflect the interests of a certain group of people, and in this case would be the student, the Broken College community, right? And it involves access to information, just participation. I just wanted to go over that in terms of advocacy for trees, right? Because actually, Broken College is part of the Decarbonization Leadership Program, part of the CLCPA, and Broken College is currently part of it with projects for solar and geothermal energy because that program prioritizes facility improvements that would help with climate change and consuming carbon. And it's important to recognize that trees are part of the infrastructure of this campus, even if it's just the green infrastructure, right? And campus facility workers themselves are responsible for the grounds. It's in their purview. So we can obviously recognize that they are facilities and could maybe show that these are things that could be advocated for, right? And so just to show interest for students in these trees, the capstone class had a little survey. 35 students, so obviously could be expanded, and we saw that most students found aesthetics and beauty their important value of trees, and second, shade and cooling, and a vast majority said that they are important to their campus experience on Brooklyn College. And also, because as we have missed some trees this semester, we can know that they have been valued greatly, right? So there has been some response to that. So that's a more current example. And one thing that a student from Hunter College did for us was actually map the area that includes trees on the Brooklyn College campus, and found that we have a 15% area canopy cover, which is the sixth highest in CUNY. And this is really important because the forest sprawl collection, which inspired the capstone class, actually led to Local Law 148, which basically mandated an urban forest plan that would increase the forest canopy from 22% to 30%. And obviously, we hadn't even reached 22%, so we like to raise that number. Also, the plan mandates that the plan provides recommendations to prevent the loss of canopy and also promote its maintenance and growth. And things like a tree inventory, which includes those maintenance needs, the health of the tree would be very important for creating metrics effects. Luckily, the first one has been released 1 week ago. So this could be really significant for further work in this. This is a map from 1946, found in the library, which is a record of all the trees. All these little tiny dots are actually letters which code to different tree species, shows the different trees on campus. There's also one in 1987, a whole book, which is also in the archives. And you can see over time that trees have since died, they have been taken down, there have been trees that have been replanted. Like, we can see the West Quad is completely different, and now the East Quad is going to be revitalized. And so we can see that trees has historical value, there's legacy in this, and tree inventories map that change, not just the trees. And the capstone also looked into what other campuses did for their tree inventories, and we had some takeaways. First, and mainly what they're lacking, and so there are some environmental justice things that are part of trees that were not really highlighted. So there is an environmental justice function, and environmental justice is basically disproportionate harms or benefits to different communities based on the environment. So environmental harms in vulnerable communities would include urban heat island effect being more intense. And so low-income neighborhoods with less environmental amenities like trees also bear similar impacts, usually like lack of access to air conditioning. And so that's something that we hope to include in the tree inventory. And also another thing that we mentioned, that we found, was some of these tree inventories were not accessible. And luckily, all the data we've collected so far is viewable in public links, though they're not complete since the inventory is not complete. And I will include a QR code to what we have so far. So Professor Menser let me honorize this class, and I decided to digitize the book that's in the archives, and just in terms of mapping it, I didn't actually scan it, that's crazy. And we found that it was quite dense. You obviously can't see the individual species names here, but this was a good trial to function, to see how useful it could be, and just how dense it is. So just trying to see how data should be accessible, both in print and digital. And one way that New York City has made their own tree inventory extremely, I think, accessible digitally at least, is the Parks and Recreation Department. They have an incredible tree inventory that highlights all the benefits, stormwater retention, energy conserved, air pollutants, and there are other benefits not listed here, of course. And you could see energy conserved, $97 million. That is, I would say, significant. So yeah, interpreting ecological services into economic value might be something to be considered since we're talking about ethics. And next, here's just a view of what we have from an October 4th event of the tree inventory, which was basically the starting event, and students and community members basically went to every tree, determined their species that they found. This isn't expansive. We mainly focused on the East Quad, not just, the grassy area that is now dirt. It is. So yeah, and you could see all this data on this QR code. And, this further research, planted a seed, if you will. I'm trying with the puns, guys. And it's, it's all available and it will be further done. Here's a really small sample of the trees that we had done the inventory for. For example, the American elm, which, yes, we missed, but we're going to have back. And they have certain benefits that I'm just going to highlight. First of all, that elm is huge. Not only does it provide canopy for students below, but also will help adjacent buildings with actually cooling, which there's a whole website that could help you figure out that calculation. And it's also native, which is really nice. The cherry blossom, some might not value as much because it's not native. It's not as huge, but it is great for attracting pollinators, and it's quite pretty. And this QR code, by the way, you might notice that the last tree has not been labeled because we had not finished the inventory, but I do have a lot of pictures. So if anyone happens to be experienced in identifying trees, you can actually submit them through that form. But enough of that. Let's go into ethics for today.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Radia. I'm a political science major, and today I will be talking about Lisa Newton's virtue ethics and Bill Lawson's environmental justice. Okay. So basically, Lisa Newton's virtue ethics basically wants to develop a person's character and build a coherent worldview rather than following external rules such as laws or seeking immediate pleasure. So what it involves is the personal worldview imperative, which is basically the idea that individuals need to develop a single, comprehensive, and internally consistent worldview that is morally good and that they can actively live out in their daily lives. Then there's character. So basically character starts with having personal integrity. Because we can only act in the present, we have to act from the character which we have developed up until this point. And then there's internal versus external motivations. Newton says that traditional stick and carrot methods such as laws or financial incentives are ineffective because they do not lead to long-term sustainability. You are simply acting based on your internal motivations. And then there are lifelong virtue ethics which you should be living out, such as sustainability, integrity, temperance, attentiveness, wisdom, responsibility, discipline, and justice. Okay. According to her book, Ethics and Sustainability, a tree inventory proposal is a great idea because Newton, following the view of the Iroquois, which is a Native American group based in upstate, argues that sustainability requires acting in the interest of the people who will live 7 generations in the future. A tree inventory facilitates long-term planning for the campus, ensuring that these natural resources are preserved for future students. She believes that sustainability is the maintenance of a system without degrading the environment that nurtures it. The inventory will help identify risks in tree health and support the ecological sustainability of our campus. And then third, the key goal for Newton is learning how to live in harmony with the natural environment. So the inventory will provide data needed to understand how campus trees mitigate, for example, as Karina was saying earlier, urban heat and manage stormwater, allowing the college to work with our ecosystem. And going into Lawson, I will say that unlike Newton, who focuses more on living morally correct lives than political reformation, Lawson is more so about using the government, I would say participatory democracy, to help sustainability reform. So in his essay, The Value of Environmental Justice, he, quoting the Environmental Protections Agency, basically says that there are two principles in environmental justice, which are fair treatment, which is the ensurance that no group of people, regardless of their race, religion, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, etc., should carry a disproportionate amount of negative environmental consequences. So these consequences can stem from industrial or detrimental policies made by our government. And then there is meaningful involvement, which basically states that the affected communities must have the ability to participate in and influence the decisions that impact their health and environment. It entails that the residents have the opportunity to participate in environmental decisions, that their contributions can influence the outcomes, and that all participants' concerns are considered. I will note that this is not only just about the people getting to participate. Lawmakers, policymakers, they have to actively seek out the involvement of those who are affected. This is not a passive operation. So, environmental justice and tree inventories. Tree inventories can promote social justice because tree inventories can identify gaps in specific neighborhoods, ensuring that low-income or minority areas aren't left with higher heat effects or poorer air quality compared to the well-off, wealthier areas. Instead of having outside voices dictate our campus's environmental health, the data collection allows students and staff to influence regulatory decisions with their own findings. And then lastly, engaging in collaborative data gathering helps alleviate any mistrust between the community and government, creating a transparent and shared goal. I will now turn it over to Adrian.
Hello, my name is Adrian Gonzalez. I'm a student here at Brooklyn College studying urban sustainability. So I'm going to be talking about bioregionalism and the rights views of Staples and Cafaro in relation to this tree inventory. But first I'll get into bioregionalism. So what is bioregionalism? According to Menser's writing on the bioregion and social difference, learning from Iris Young's Metropolitan Regionalism, bioregionalism itself can be separated into two dimensions. The first dimension here can be described as the integration of physical sciences, such as biogeography, which is the study of life within a geographic location, climatology, which is the study of weather patterns, and geomorphology, which is the study of land surfaces and its evolution processes. So this dimension is looking to integrate those types of sciences with other with other knowledges, such as natural history and indigenous knowledge. So an example we can look at here is the natives of New York, such as the Lenape people, as well as the Shinnecock, which the Shinnecock are the Native American tribe, which is still active today out on the east end of Long Island. And the Lenape used to be inhabitants of the area that we're standing on right now in New York. So we would like to, with this dimension, we would want to integrate their knowledge and the history of the land through their perspective with modern day science, such as the ones listed. So we have here for the second dimension of bioregionalism. Bioregionalism operates on a value framework according to the norms of ecological sustainability, social justice, and human well-being, the concept of the place. So what is the place? Well, according to Menser, the place is a community of beings, living and non-living, living as in the trees, the wildlife here, the animals, the people, and non-living such as the water, the soil, mountains, the river, the Hudson River. Those are all concepts of this place that is described in bioregionalism. So this is important because as a bioregionalist, you would want to, or you should, find meaning through and identify with your geographical location, as well as all of its community members, both living and non-living. So let's dive into number 2 again. So it says it operates on value framework according to the norms of ecological sustainability, social justice. This is aiming to reintegrate economic, political, and sociocultural spheres that we see today, but in the eyes of ecological sustainability and social justice. So we want to get the same ideas that we have of those 3 topics today, but look at it through a different type of lens. So now that we have an idea of what bioregionalism is, what would a bioregionalist think of tree inventories? So a bioregionalist would support tree inventories because, 1, they identify native trees according to geographic location, which in the previous slide mentioned. Geographic location is a major theme that you'll see within bioregionalism. It's important to a bioregionalist, so the idea of collecting and identifying native trees in the area is something a bioregionalist would support. 2, they collect data on size and age of each tree, which gives us better knowledge and understanding of the ecosystem itself. A bioregionalist wants to know how to keep our ecosystem and environment healthy. They want to, know about the trees in the area, and they would be interested in collecting data on that. So, number 3, like I said before, tree inventories, they record health conditions of trees and maintain safe and healthy environments. Another major theme of bioregionalism is the maintaining of a healthy ecosystem. They want to maximize that. Number 4, a bioregionalist would want to identify non-native trees as well as, and preferably replace them with native trees. So they would, number 4, would want to identify non-native trees and replace them with natives. Number 5, overall knowledge of what trees reside in our community. So, like I said before, geographic location is very important to a bioregionalist. So, knowing what trees reside in our community is a huge interest for someone who's a bioregionalist. So next, I'm going to be getting into Staples and Cafaro and their rights view. So basically, their rights view has 3 main points of arguing for the rights for species to exist. So the first point here is their biological makeup. Staples and Cafaro argue that their species creativity, their diversity, history, their DNA, evolution, and how they can even metabolize are all reasons why a species should have the right to exist or should exist. Number 2, their functional complexity. Their functional complexity could consist of their aesthetics, their beauty, and uniqueness. To Staples and Cafaro, these reasons justify their right to live. And lastly, number 3, their ecosystem role. So, as relating to the tree inventory, as mentioned before, trees conserve energy. They also collect stormwater, and they are natural air pollutants. So, just from their ecosystem role, Staples and Cafaro would argue that they have the right to exist just based off these 3 points. So why would Staples and Gafaro support tree inventories? Well, tree inventories name and label each species of trees in the surrounding area, as well as go into detail about each tree's creative features, hence supporting their right to exist through their biological makeup. Number two, they describe each tree's ecosystem role benefits such as stormwater retention, energy conservation, and air purifying properties. This supports their right to exist through their ecosystem role. Number three, each tree's functional complexity is also described, such as the Japanese cherry blossoms, distinct pink leaves, or the yew tree's unique needle-like leaves. This supports their functional complexity through how they have very beautiful leaves and how they're unique to one another. Staples and Gafaro also differentiates from bioregionalism in a sense that Staples and Gafaro would argue that both native and non-native trees have the right to be here and to exist. A bioregionalist wouldn't value the non-natives as much. They would probably advocate a little bit more to replace them eventually with native trees. A bioregionalist really wants to focus on the natives of this land. Staples and Gafaro would support both ways. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, questions from folks in the class and any guests here today? Just two, I want to highlight two things though. One is, I don't know if you want to pull up the map of the campus. Sorry. I don't know if you want to pull up the map of the campus, yeah. So this is the border of the campus. There are more trees by number right outside the campus than there are trees. We know what it is? That's the rail line. We're going to reactivate that rail line. So that was something that we learned. I've been here 30 years and I didn't realize how many damn trees were on this other side. The second thing was, a lot of people don't know this, but Prof College was founded as an arboretum, as a place with lots of non-native trees that were considered to be beautiful or worthwhile research. But we were not able to afford keeping our status as an arboretum, so we were de-arboretumized in the 1940s. But it was part of the campus to have that, be part of the campus in this beautiful way, connecting to research and stuff. But nice coverage of all the different worldviews by the students.
Of course. Sorry.
Any comments, questions?
So, nice job, a lot of information there, thank you. Was the interest in doing a tree inventory brought about by the knowledge that they would be taking down the elms that have their lifespan? And also, second question, you said you worked a little with someone from Hunter, where I don't think of as a tree-filled campus. Are other colleges doing tree inventory as well in CUNY?
Want to answer the first part as much as you can?
From my recollection, I think about a bit into it, it was more of like a rumor that we heard. But for me, when I was looking into Berkeley College's plans, I could see that there was like a 2025 to 2026 revitalization plan. But it was something that very much did come up. We were aware of it, but it wasn't the biggest starting point. Yeah.
So the capstone always has a community partner, and New York City had this Forest for All coalition, which was pushing to have not just street trees, but trees planted in a more consistent and supported way across the 5 boroughs. We got word that the city, Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice, was really excited that CUNY might count its trees because we're considered to be private property from the perspective of the city. Most of our campuses are generally owned by the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, so we're not city property, and we're not public property in the city. So they had no idea how many trees were on our campuses, and so us in Staten Island were two that began a tree inventory process. We used humans, they used drones. I'm not going to comment. It is a big campus, Staten Island. And we worked with a nonprofit called the Sarah Balistreri was from the New York City Parks Foundation. New York City Parks
Amongst others.
Foundation. Amongst others, right. And she was great, and she trained us. We love Sarah. She was so great as a supporter of community park. And so eventually all our data is going to the city because the tree plan was just formally released. And once we're completed, we'll submit that to the city.
Other questions or comments?
I'm just curious, sort of working through this project over, I don't know, semester to semester. What has been, like, for each of you, the sort of most enjoyable thing that you've learned or, maybe experience that you're surprised by or not surprised by, you expected to be?
So on October 4th, we had an introductory tree inventory event. And that was really great because it involved community members, and it was when we do this work for coursework, for example, that's a bit more, you're not working outside as much as you want to. You're not really working as much with people who have history with these things or with the Brooklyn College community itself. And it was, for me, that was a really great experience. The VC Eats Garden, for example, who grows their own food, they supplied the food to that event, like banana bread, stuff like that. And that kind of community aspect makes it feel more real and worthwhile. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, for Radia and I, we didn't necessarily work on this project. This was mostly Karina, but we did look at this tree inventory and applied our knowledge from Menser's class with ethics and politics in mind. But I thought the tree inventory was very cool and knowledgeable too, because I didn't know about each trees. Like learning about the trees in the area, I thought was really unique and especially since we're on the topic right now too of bioregionalism, it kind of fits in perfectly with what we're learning right now. And yeah.
I mean, at least for me, this is my first environmental-based class here at Brooklyn as a political science major, and I mean, coming in, I already have a strong sense of the environmental science. I'm very interested in it, but I don't think I realized going through the class of 2025's tree proposal, I didn't realize how important the inventories were, and going through them, seeing how they can collect the benefits of the trees or their health, and I just feel that was so important to me, because I feel as an urban space, we sort of take for granted any greenery that we have, and we don't realize how important it is for our function in the city. So I really appreciated that aspect of the project, and I thoroughly enjoyed looking at it through the ethical viewpoint.
Okay. Thank you to all of you. It was very interesting. So my question is, what is going to be replanted in the area they're working on now? And did the inventory have any saying in that? Who is deciding what is being replanted? And it seems to me, I found very interesting that the historical map that you put up out from the archives. So I'm wondering whether there is some kind of taking into consideration history, what was there, what you counted.
So the cutting down of the trees contract was signed many years ago. The allocation was in the late 2010s. And the college, because there's a lot of infrastructure damage that had been done by the roots of the trees, and that's why we have all these outages of water and so on campus. So that was put in motion many years ago as part of the long capital list of things to do on campus. We were certainly in urban sustainability and other advocates on campus and other community members too, let's be honest. We're pushing the campus to think about natives and all that kind of stuff and think about stormwater and the new climate. So it definitely got in there in an informal way many years ago in the 2010s when it was becoming known the college was going to be doing this. The college has not shared the list of trees that they're planting. There is a landscape architect who's tasked with doing these types of plans alongside the larger trees that they are going with again. But we haven't seen that. And I know that the campus is understaffed in many different ways, but that is a very frustrating experience that was not shared, has not been shared with us in the community in distinct ways since COVID. So that's very frustrating. That said, I mean, facilities, I gotta say, on this campus has been so cooperative with us, with the garden and with other plantings, facilities department specific. And they really do just have supported us so much and the efforts that we're doing. So at that level, it's been great and much better than on other campuses with the ability of classes and staff and faculty to work with facilities. But we don't have that list. I have put in another request for it, but I have not seen it.
Can I have one little tiny comment on that? As someone, I'm now an alumni and alum, and so I didn't have to experience like the taking down of the trees, which makes me a little biased, whatever. And it's still super important to me, even though I don't go here like 4 days, 5 days a week. What this campus is gonna look like after this. So I think that kind of shows like the legacy and importance of that question.
Yeah. I think that, yes. Yeah, Catherine.
I had a question for the students and also the alum. How do you think this experience has shaped you in terms of using the campus as a learning laboratory? And you've graduated, so how do you feel like this will translate into being able to continue to do this work professionally?
I can only really attest to a little story I have. Well, first of all, Stalin Espinal, the sustainability coordinator, has been working with us with trying to get this campus as a living lab initiative working. So like the entire time we've been in coordination with him, trying to think of ideas. But I have a little solo story. When I was graduating, I was pretty determined to go to every part of campus I could find, including the trees. And if I'm talking about education, I did spend nice study sessions in a lovely, if you, in front of the Tower building, there's a ginormous willow tree, and it's basically just a cocoon that you could just sit in and study in. And that, I guess, if you think about it, was an effect of using the campus for my studies. And yeah, I just wanted to mention, shout out to that willow tree. Thank you.
For me, I think this, for the future, has helped me develop a skill of integrating ethics into projects such as the one Karina has worked on. So I think that will go a long way, especially if I haven't decided what I want to do for work after college yet. So I think this will go a long way in integrating ethics into my everyday life and also looking at certain policies or projects from an ethical point of view.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, at least for me, I feel like taking this class and doing this project, it really made me appreciate nature. It taught me to be a bit more aware of what we are doing to the environment, and just to be a bit more grateful of how we benefit from it. So I feel like that's my main takeaway from this project, and honestly just to live a life that is conscious of what I'm doing to the environment, and just have that mutual beneficiary and just striving to live out a life where I can protect nature for, like, going off to my previous slide, the next 7 generations, because in a world of AI and mass data centers and just buildings all over, I feel like we need to preserve nature because like, let's be real, we cannot exist on a world without trees. They can try to go to Mars. We know everybody here is not going to be able to go to Mars. So I feel like that's basically my takeaway from this project.
Oh, and I'll just add that I don't know if we probably are able to share the capstone slides, but some of them involve potential campuses living labs or combinations with the tree inventory. And one way that the tree inventory uses some student knowledge that we have is, for example, urban sustainability students have to take GIS, and so that's really important for mapping, for example. Because we have a mandatory GIS course. There's also soils courses. So there's all these different sections. So thought I mentioned that. Thanks.
Maybe I have one more comment.
Hello, I apologize because I was late, so I thought I'll ask you a question already covered. But are you in any way involved in the what you're doing, like in the why or not at all?
Me, not at all. Yeah.
So it's a completely administrative thing?
Yeah, we just quickly had said there was pressure to go with natives early on. Yeah, but that was it. Otherwise we were after plans for. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Professor Menser, do you want to?
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you to the students one more time. And thanks to all the class for engaging with the material across the last 2 months. And I would just say quickly 3 things. One is there's a walking tour of the campus also happening with a literature class right now. And they're going to be at the BCE's garden. So we're going to go down to that. Awesome. And then also the folks in my class, they're going to take a picture of us by the pond at 3:30, right? So if everybody can just hang out, we'll go over there. And thanks to Communications to Catherine for getting attention to this work. And the second thing is, in this moment, it's hugely important to get students in hands-on environments. And it's also really important to put this work in the context of community. We were responding from a call from community, from the city, and also from off-campus folks who wanted to engage more with the campus. So really credit to everybody for being able to interact in that way. Again, thanks to HSS for giving us the context for this work.
Thank you so much for both teaching us, letting us learn from you, but also for the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you. And we have another panel right here in 15 minutes, so stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the work that you're